year, and what prompted us to hold this another meeting in a year's time. Exactly a year back, exactly on the same date, 10th and 11th of 2013, we had a meeting on CRZ and RZ at IIT Bombay, where Professor Solekar and myself, we had organized that. And the whole idea was, is that something which we are missing? And that missing point is something which I thought we should be highlighting it. And besides the CRZ and river regulation zone, we also felt that environmental impact assessment is another complexity which is getting added to the whole regulation that we have had. Having a regulation is not bad, but having a regulation which is creating more controversies, making people uncomfortable, some people are very comfortable as well. So there are comfort and discomfort zone, and that needs to be taken into account. And the whole idea of this particular seminar, symposium, whatever you call it, we are doing it in almost like a round table, but table doesn't exist here. So even in this session, inaugural session, which we call it, you may have question answer, which is normally not the case. We would do it in the rest of the session also. Some of the basic rule also is, which I have explained to most of the panelists and the moderators, that let's not get into the process of criticizing institutions and persons. That's not what we are wanting. We are wanting a very healthy discussion. If you have an issue, please raise it. And we are all here to raise those issues. So what I'll do is I'll take you through some of the ideas that we wanted to discuss. In terms of coastal river regulation zone, and very interestingly, a river regulation zone is only in the state of Maharashtra, and I think some kind of regulation exists in Kerala. Otherwise, in other countries, you see something, but not in our country as of now. Now, when we look at the whole idea of these regulations, we find that these new rules which are getting, sometimes they get strengthened, sometimes they get diluted. There must be some reason. And as many of you would know, that any rules and regulations which are made in this country goes through a peer review process. There is a scientific document which is made, and it also is made public. So people are supposed to react to those documentation, and then it gets into final rule. What we also see is that many times these rules keep getting criticized because people didn't react at the time when they react. And in some places, people reaction also is not taken into account as much as there should have been. Now, what we look at that, when we look at those criticism of the rules, the government position is that since we have done all that participation process and peer review experts, how is that you are talking about not getting implemented right way and the right thing? So, only thing probably government would want to respond is that we need to implement it better, or implementation plan can be slightly better. Now, when we look at developmental agencies, those who are directly or indirectly affected, they say rules are very restrictive, arbitrary, and without scientific base. And that's the reason why we have got a lot of scientific people also in today's discussion and the meeting, to look at are we really having rules which has got no scientific base? And has it really happened in the past for 10 years, 15 years, and we have lived with it? There are a lot of projects where they have got delayed for various reasons, and many times the logic is not very clear. And to some extent, I would say many times, even I am not very clear some of those regulations, where we say 500 meters from so-and-so line, 200 meters from so-and-so line. What are those logic which has been used in the past, and what is that we are trying to use now? Scientific community, as usual, is probably the most silent community, which talks only in the background, writes some papers. And on a lighter note, I just wanted to highlight when the 2005 flood took place, and we have Chitle committee, and Professor Syama Solekar was also there in that. There was a discussion that there were a lot of two papers. One was written by needy people that these kind of floodings will take place, and because of the mangroves and the flooding and whatever can happen. The only thing was these two papers were written by two institutions in this same city and for Mumbai, but it was not known to any of the academic, beyond the academic people, probably it was not known to the other people. And this question was very well debated and said, we need to have that linkages where the bureaucracy and the whatever political class, the ministries, and the scientific community should talk to each other. We have a big divide which is there, and I think this whole idea of meeting today is to bridge that divide. whatever way, limited way we can do it, let's do it. Let's do that. When we look at some of the scientific community other questions relating to CRZ, RRZ is, are we using satellite information very well? Are mapping techniques improved? Because we are still relying on some of the mapping techniques which existed probably 50 years and 100 years back. And wherever we have socioeconomic conflicts, which is part of the MS Swaminathan Foundation report on the coastal zone management, has that been internalized? It looks like it has been done to some extent, but not as much. When we look at community leaders, when we talk about political leaders, we are talking about, are we taking a longer term view? So all that forest which gets eliminated in Nepal creates flood in Bihar and UP. So should we be doing the same thing? Should we be only talking about our own area, not other areas? But in this current scenario of coast and rivers and impacts are actually not limited to the area that we talk about. So what has changed? This is what we want to discuss today. In CRZ India, current and past, what has changed and why? What is our current situation right now, and what is the world doing elsewhere? So India is not isolated in that sense. There are a whole lot of rules in different countries and how they are doing it. And in terms of science of coastal protection and norms, what are the biodiversity issues and coastal dynamics related issues which are happening? In rivers, we are talking about river banks, floodplains, their definition. It has still remained major issues. And some of the contentious issues are estuarine areas and the definition of river and the coast. That is where we find that a lot of issues come as a conflict. So in future, what is that we need to consider? Should we consider climate change scenario? Is that very clear to us? It's included in the rules, but are we very clear that this will lead to so much of change in the line which has been defined? What kind of erosion pattern will take place is going to be same. The Andamans, Mumbai and Gujarat are going to have different erosions possibilities, even the Tamil Nadu for that example. And when we talk about development scenarios for industries, bridges, jetties, treatment plants, pipelines, these are the kind of things which have been traditionally coming very close to the coast. In fact, many places we find that those are also being restricted and it becomes difficult to pass them. So what we need to do is look at regulations, look at our science basis which has been provided, and look at how they are interrelated, and try to see how can we simplify our process in this case. Expectation is that can we make some of these regulations not as standalone but little more dynamic. We learn and we do. As we learn more and more, we do better. So in this case, we shouldn't be looking at what was written in 1991. Can we do better in terms of today? When we come to the other part, even in CRZ currently, impact assessment is written and is part of the whole process. Now, many times we find that impact assessment process is also becoming a little more complicated, which we thought was one of the most pious regulation in this country. And is it that remaining the same way? Is it still simple? So who is doing it? What are we doing? And what is the review process? There are definitions that we all know. We also know why EIA is done. The main purpose of EIA is to address the project planning and design stage, whatever implication that you want to derive. You don't want to do impact assessment only after the damage has happened or the impact, the project has been already finalized and it's being put to the table that, okay, this needs to be clear. Why we are doing it? A lot of people have questioned that why EIA should be done. We understand what's going to happen. But if you look at how India took impact assessment process, it first started in Australia and Colombia in 1974, then Thailand, France, Philippines adopted in 1978, Israel in 1981, Pakistan in 83, very interestingly went ahead and had EIA regulation much before India had. India got EIA bandwagon to its place in 1994. And of course, we have had very rapid changes in that. So when we talk about impact assessment, are we moving forward? In the sense there are places where we know that project-specific EIA is no more working. It's not giving us the result that we want. So for example, if you are looking at building projects in the city here, Do we need individual building project EIA, or can we do the whole EIA for the city? Because we are talking about the whole city development, and unless until we take the whole thing together, we can't get the right answer. I mean, that's my opinion. Of course, we will debate and discuss that. When we have one single power plant in an area of about 300 square kilometers, single project is fine. But if we have, say, in Ratnagiri, we got 10 power plants in cities. So should we not look at all of these power plants together? So these are the examples of doing not project-based EIA, but we do it all together. Mining activities in a region is another example of doing regional assessment, not individual mining assessment, which is what we are doing. And the last one, which I thought, which has become very contentious, is sand mining and other mineral minings, which are again done in small places. And in a smaller component, it looks like it's a small issue. But when we look at the larger picture, it looks like the impact is going to be very enormous. And sometimes we can't even imagine what kind of impact it will have. So normally, if you see, we are still at India's project level EIA is being done. Program-based EIA we have still not thought. And the whole idea of discussing here, and since Mr. Rajiv is also here, there are ideas where we say program level EIA. So, for example, Deshmukh Sahab is also here. If slum rehabilitation is a program of the government of Maharashtra, can we not do the slum rehabilitation program-based impact assessment? I mean, that's how we should be looking at certain things. Doing one individual building will not give the right answer. Regional level, we have tried some, which has been tried in Doon Valley. It has been tried in, what was that place? The NCR region has been tried. But yes, limited level. They have not been finally implemented, but we did it. Policy level and strategic level we have not yet done, but I think those are the other things which should be done. And just to give you an example, we were discussing that FSI thing, which is very common in our city, that if we wish to change any FSI from 2 to 3 or 3 to 4, we need to do an EIA, because that will actually tell you what policy level EIA can throw those numbers and pictures. They will not be able to throw numbers and pictures if you do it individually as a project. So if you look at EIA spectrum, we need to move from project towards regional and then to sectoral at least. And in some cases, we can think of doing strategic EIA as well. Of course, we don't want to become very theoretical, and we say we should now think of life cycle assessment, which is the thing which is being discussed elsewhere. But it's very important that we move forward in this direction and do something. And particularly move away from project-based EIA in this case. And of course, in the impact assessment, still we are not talking so much about social and health. And the whole idea of doing the exercise was that we should be doing health and the social aspects all together. Right? So some of the uncomfortable questions that we are asking is, by project proponent, why things get delayed, why projects are not being reviewed in the same way, what is that which changes from state to state, from committee to committee, are there some no-go areas which can be defined right now, and then we move forward in this direction. The expert appraisal committee also asked very relevant question that good quality reports do not come. NABET accreditation has happened, but quality of reports and the consultant remain as poor as it was earlier. What should be done? And this is what bothers everyone. The whole idea of doing all that was to remove all the obstacles, improve the quality, and therefore we move forward in a better direction. So the idea was that in this community that we are trying to create here in this city as well as in Delhi, we would be trying to do the same debate in Delhi in the month of February. So we are looking at how do we create that community which talks to each other, tries to understand, and then keeps documenting it. Because right now we talk, but we don't document. And since we don't document, it doesn't reach to the right place where we need to emphasize and the action can be taken. So the whole idea is be part of this community and help us create that community so that we are able to debate and make our processes much more clearer and highly scientific in future. So I'll stop here. I thought I'll just give you a base of what has been happening in the past, and then we take our debate further. Now I'll request Professor Solekar to speak to all of you. He has been in the forefront. I don't think I should be giving introduction to him. So he is in the forefront of understanding some of these basic issues, and let's hear from him.